we have a little time together, and I want to make good use of it. I have some interesting things to show you and to talk about, and my colleagues as well. I see I have 41 minutes left, so I'll try to make a very good... First of all, in the course of this, I love questions. It can be about anything, really. Of course, we have a lot of ideas to share with you, but if there are any questions, please just shoot them out, and we'll be happy to answer them. Is there anyone there ready to ask a question? Yeah, please, go ahead.
You're single, right?
Hi, Mr. Coppola. 20 years ago, you come here to Comic-Con with a film that somehow reinvented a myth of horror. That's the Bram Stoker's Dracula. I would like you to tell us a few words about how that film, the Dracula film, changed your relation with horror as a genre, and how did that change influence TWIXT somehow?
Thank you. Well, I've always loved the Gothic romance story, the horror story. As you know, I began my apprenticeship with Roger Corman. I sort of learned the low-budget horror film at his knee. You could say I was his assistant, which meant I washed his car every week and mowed the lawn. But I learned a tremendous amount from Roger. And I used to be a camp counselor. I had 9 little boys in my bunk, and I would read to them, and I confess I read the entire Bram Stoker Dracula to those little 9-year-old boys. And so when I was given the chance of doing Dracula, of course I knew the book, I had read it in its entirety, and I liked very much that genre. I think we have wonderful American authors, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Edgar Allan Poe, he's not American, but Robert Louis Stevenson, who lived in the Napa Valley, in fact, for many years. So there is a great tradition in Gothic romance, and those of you who have read the stories of Poe know more of what I'm speaking of. So there's no question that that imagery came and helped me in the making of TWIXT. When you see the full film, you'll see the full weight of that. I'll answer one other question, and I want to get on to what we're going to show you here. So please, another question. And it could also be to Val or to Dan.
Hi everybody. Mr. Coppola, I think I speak for everyone when I say it's an honor. Thank you for being here. Mr. Coppola, you said that right now you're enjoying making smaller budget personal films, but did you ever foresee maybe a chance of working with a bigger budget again, or are you pretty comfortable where you're at?
Well, what I'd like to do is work with a bigger budget, but with the same economies and the same stringent control, so that for a bigger budget I can make really a much bigger film. And I am writing a new script right now as we speak. That is a bigger, I don't know how I'm going to finance this one, because I sort of have a limit of these films that I do myself. But you know, I am writing it. I'm getting old, and I do want to express some things in a slightly larger canvas. Yes. Thank you. I'm going to go on now. There's another gentleman, and maybe every once in a while we'll get more questions. I hope you're not tired standing there. But I'd like to express a few thoughts preparatory to what we're going to talk to with Dan. And it's just that cinema, movies are so young. I mean, barely 100 years old. How dare anyone think that all it's got up its sleeve is some more 3D where the ticket prices go up. Cinema has many more surprises that you and your children will invent, because it's at the beginning of this expression of image and sound. In many ways, music and theater are thousands of years old. Cinema is a baby, so of course we're going to see wonderful innovations come, and there can be many, and I guess I was a little taken aback when I heard certain studio executives saying, well, they're going to make all their films in 3D, as if this was the magic fix. No, cinema has some real surprises up its sleeve, and you know, that's what I want to talk about today, and I want my colleague. Dan, talk a little bit about music and theater in the past. What was it like?
I think the big shift in the way people interact with art changed when being able to reproduce it without the actual creators being there. Like 100 years ago, if you were to listen to music, you had to be in the same room as the person making the music. If you wanted to see a play,
can you hear Dan okay? Good.
And then once recordings came about, that changed. It was a huge paradigm shift in the way people thought about music. Now they could just listen to music whenever they wanted. They didn't have to be in that room. They didn't have to, seek out a performance. The performances came to them. And then, of course, with film, it changed the way that people interacted with theaters. Stage theaters became movie theaters.
If I may add, like if you were a composer, you didn't get any money. There were no record rights. There was no money for composition. The way you got money was by touring with the musicians to the towns and conduct. Mendelssohn, they say, was not a very good conductor, but he went and conducted his music, as did all of the composers, because that's the only way they could get a fee, although Mendelssohn was also rich. But, or Liszt, or being an actor. If you wrote a play, you sort of had to be in the company to get paid, or this idea of getting rich off of art was...
And that's where the idea of, stars came from, is because there would be a particular virtuoso that was better than anyone else, that would sing a particular aria, like, blow people away. You'd see the same operas again and again, but then there'd be this one touring company coming through, or there'd be this one particular conductor, and it just changed the atmosphere. But once everything became recording, there was a definitive way. There was now a perfect that was set in stone. There was no way to augment or change that.
And you have to realize that art has only been recorded or recordable. Technology has only mastered that in the last 170 years. The first photograph, say, was about 170 years ago. The first time art was able to record. And then, of course, sound and the ability to hear Caruso in your living room. And then when some guys put up a sheet and projected a locomotive pulling into the station, audiences were thrilled and shocked. But in a sense, ever since then, most art given to all of us is recorded. It's canned. It's not live.
It's made to be commodified as well.
It's a commodity. Explain about Stravinsky, for example.
Stravinsky started, when he first started composing, it was pre-phonographs, but then once the phonograph became popular, he started writing his symphonies so that they would fit on one side of a record. And I think a lot of musicians today write music that, exists in a way that you can start at the beginning, it gets to the end, it fits on a CD, or it fits on a vinyl record, or it's small enough where someone can download it in an instant, and it's linear.
So what all this is about is to pose the idea, why do movies have to be canned? I mean, everything else is. We know that it's competing with a lot of really entertainment, that cable news is entertainment. If it's not canned, it's certainly pre-digested. Politics is entertainment, and it's pre-digested. Everything, all we have that's vaguely alive are the concerts you go to, are some theater, or sports. Sports is, you really don't know what's going on. I mean, when the ladies were playing soccer, I didn't know, my heart was in my mouth at the last few minutes of that. It was such an exciting thing. That's what makes sports great. And my little granddaughter, who's probably your age, she's 24, she tells me, she says, Dad, we go to the first night of all the movies. We wait online and we go because sometimes you see the people who worked on it there, and no one knows whether it's good or bad. So there is a yearning, I feel, for a little bit more of the live to be put back in cinema. And for that reason, when we made TWIXT, I knew it was kind of a Halloween kind of story. And I thought, gee, what I'd love to do is go on tour like a month before the film opened and go to all the cities myself with my collaborators, with live music, and actually perform the film for each audience uniquely for them. A different version for each audience. That's what opera was like. In the old days, when the opera conductor, my dad was a conductor, as I think many of you know, and I want to be a conductor because my dad was a conductor. But if in the old days, when the audience was loving what was happening, the conductor would go the number of the cue and go like that to his head, which meant to the top, and they do it again because the audience liked it, and that was where the encore came from. And if the audience was very bored and stuff, he'd go second ending, second ending. That meant they'd just quickly go on. So because cinema is now electronic, it's digital, it's no longer a long strip of celluloid that has to go the way it was determined. They're digital files. And thus, because they're digital files, it means the director, if he were there, if he wanted to take the time to go to each show, he could essentially change the experience to suit the audience. When I saw you watch the promo, there were some things you liked, you laughed at, some things maybe weren't as interesting, but I could give you more of some of the things you liked once I knew what you were like. And of course, for a 7-minute or a 10-minute promo, it's not so, not that much to work with, but a whole movie, there'd be a lot of, in fact, let me show you a couple of things. Like, I guess, can you see the thing I have here? I have the whole movie under my control, and I'm gonna. And if I wanted to make changes, I would push this button. And where the hell is that? And as you see, I have all kinds of options. I have, one scene says 19S, 19L. That means short or long. I have other scenes that were not in that. And I could just on the fly, and we're going to try to do it for you, with live music, perform the film again, except for you, as best we can. I said this was going to be a dress rehearsal, and believe me, it will be. But we'll do it, and we'll see. We'll do the best we can with it. Also, you know, those of you who are the more computer savvy and what have you understand what I'm talking about. So theoretically, I mean, I'm not going to do that, but theoretically, I could push this shuffle button, and I could show you 20 versions of what I just showed you. Of course, just by itself, randomly screwing it all up. But we're not going to do that. We're going to try to, and this young man on the left, Ian, has been involved in creating this software based on a system with Zoetrope called Isadora. It was originally invented to help choreographers coordinate video with the living motion of the dancer, which of course needed to have a person keep the video together with the dancer, and that's sort of the basis of what we're using. So let's see, what I showed the interface. Can we just send Dan a scene? What scene do you want, Dan?
I think 30 would be good.
You want to send him 30, or should I try to do it? So okay, I'm going to go to insert. We should get what I'm doing here, insert, and I'm going to go to 1, and, oh, where the hell did it go, reveal, and I'm going to take 30, okay.
And when Francis's computer is linked to mine,
it didn't put it there. I'm going to do it again, and 5 seconds. That's what I did. And I went to 30. Should I push it?
and the tour starts
All right,
tomorrow.
now it did it. Okay.
I want to write something for me, something personal.